Molly Green.
And
Darren Rudge.
Alan, it's Molly and Darren.
Hello, Molly and Darren.
Hello,
How are you?
you recognise us?
I do.
Yeah, sure you do.
The Happy Garden.
Yeah, Alan, you massive fibberoo. Look forward to seeing him this year at all the shows. A very warm welcome. I am Molly Green, your host today, as always, on the Happy Garden podcast. And preliminarily, I must wish you, your family, your friends, everybody your end, a very happy new year. Pod people, welcome to 2024. Brand new year. Let's hope it's just going to be a cracking one for all of us. Now, as I say, I'm Molly. Let's see how your COVID-ridden expert is doing this week. Here's Darren Rudge.
Hello. Oh, dear.
Oh. What? How it now? Look, you've had COVID since Christmas Eve. How are you faring?
Well, I think I'm nearly through it. I've got a very, very vague line.
Bit
like you, really.
Oh, Mrs. Darren getting in early. Bit vague.
It's kicking a man when he's down, isn't it? Don't you
Well,
think?
she's down as well, because all the Rudges have got COVID, haven't they?
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're nearly 10 days now, Molly.
Gosh. But
Good God.
you're feeling better. Are you on the upside?
I am on the upside of up, I must admit.
Good.
Still got a nasal thing going on and a little bit of a cough, but that's it, really.
I'd like
And
to
a vague line.
say, I'd like to say you sound sexy, but
Really?
no, but I wasn't going to. You see, because it's more nasally. Oh dear, but I'm glad you can join us, because you could have called in sick. So thanks for turning up. Oh. We have had a lot, actually, if you've checked the Facebook, Instagram, and we've had a lot of emails. Yeah, a lot of people have been concerned for your welfare.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I was just having a sip of my lovely coffee.
Made by
Made by my lovely wife.
who's also got COVID.
Yeah, who's also got COVID. Because I probably bought it here.
Yeah. Anyway, what are we doing today on the Happy Garden podcast, Dazzler?
Well, for me, I'm going to be answering some questions, obviously.
Yes.
I've got a money-saving tip. I've got a New Year money-saving tip. Gardening jokes of the week. I've got 6 gardening jokes this week. And then jobs for the week ahead. How about that?
I've also had the pleasure. I love Kevin Beresford. You may have heard of Kevin Beresford. He is, by his own admission, self-titled Britain's dullest man. Now, Darren, I know, God love him, he's in the Dull Men's Club, which is my calendar of 2024. He has done a calendar called Allotments of Redditch.
Sounds brilliant.
It does, which is just released. And what's really nice, Dazzler, he has never been a gardener. He doesn't really get gardening, hasn't ever been into gardening. But now he's met lots of allotmenteers. He is blown away by just the ingenuity, the creativity of gardeners. So you'll hear about that in a little while.
Sounds fab. Fantastic. It sounds like my type of man.
Yeah. Well, you and I have talked extensively because I bike ride a lot with my husband, so we find a lot of fly tipping down the lanes. And there's always something you can use for gardening, be it tyres or old, cobblestones or all sorts. Gardeners really are inventive.
Well, pair of tights, an old pair of bras. I made a living on that, haven't I?
You actually have. It's bra skits that pop out every summer with you, isn't it? All sorts.
Certainly do.
Love it. Well, we'll be hearing about Kevin and his new allotment calendar very shortly. Shall we start, our Dazzler, with some jobs for the week ahead?
Yes, of course.
Now, you and I are talking on 2nd of January. Oh my goodness, the hatches are battened down. Darren and I are in the West Midlands. We have a yellow weather warning for both Gavel's winds and also for rain. So we're talking on a filthy day. But I don't know if you've seen the forecast for the week ahead, Darren. Maybe Thursday onwards, we're going back to blue sky and frost, which is great because it'll freeze all this flipping mud.
Well, it's going to be gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous.
Looking forward to that.
There you go.
Yeah, the blue sky.
Tropical.
Blue sky. Oh, I don't know about that. Blue skies do your mental health an awful lot of good. And it's an awful lot more of a pleasant experience to get out into the garden as well. So let's do some jobs for the week ahead.
now in the Happy Garden.
Oh, I say, sweetie, this is my favourite bit. Time for Darren to be absolutely flabulous and regale us with his gardening jobs for the week ahead.
3, 2, 1, go.
Well, it's still mild, folks. I mean, it's mild out there, isn't it? So it's an excellent time to plant. So especially trees, shrubs and roses at this time of year. Get them in the ground as long as it's not too wet and not too cold. It's an excellent time to plant and to save yourself some money because you're buying bare root or root balled stock at this particular point in time. You can still buy plants in pots, but they are going to be more expensive for you to actually buy plants that way. So have a look around for bare root stock or root balled stock and get them into the ground. Check all your staked trees, especially the young ones, and make sure that, you know, that stake is good and firm, because we will have some breezes to come and you don't want to suffer from windrock, especially roses that can actually suffer really badly from windrock, where it tears the root system and it can actually kill the plants. Finally, for this section, remove the lower branches of garden trees. It's called crown lifting, and basically that will let light in for those plants that stay with us through the winter months.
We'll have some more jobs for the weekend before the end of the show at some point. Got an awful lot to get in.
Yes.
Got 4 sheets today, which is exciting.
4?
But
Good Lord.
listen, before we get on to Kevin Beresford,
Yes.
can Mrs. Darren hear me? No, okay. I just want to know, I'm going to play you something from well before Christmas.
Yes.
This is when I asked you what Mrs. Darren was going to get for Christmas. Listen to this.
No, you didn't.
Oh dear, that's really funny. What have you got, Mrs. Darren?
What, for Christmas?
Is she in?
Yeah, she's upstairs.
Oh, get your voice down then.
Yeah.
What have you?
What have I got? I've got a set of saucepans.
I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm really angry at you.
I've got a battery drill.
2-speed hammer drill.
That's it. Yeah. It's a screwdriver.
You know, I heard that the other day and I thought I must ask Darren on the other side of Christmas what Mrs. Darren thought about her set of saucepans.
She loves them.
Oh, does she? What was the reaction when she tore the paper off?
Well, she tested the quality straight away off my head.
Brilliant. Oh, dear.
I have to say that I did buy her some Canal perfume.
Oh, Chanel. Canal number, what was it? Canal number 7
Number
or something?
5 or
Number
something.
5. Oh. Well, because of the COVID in the Rudge household, you had a very intimate, you had a very quiet Christmas, didn't you? But
Yeah. We haven't
did
been
you
able
have
to
a
see the
lovely
grandchildren or anything.
Yeah.
We still got their presents, actually, because we haven't been able to see anybody.
I did.
Just wanted to...
Well, I did.
go on.
I did think, though, Darren, the good thing is about having Christmas after Christmas when you and little baby Lenora and all of the Rudges can get together. It's been your money-saving tip for time in memoriam.
Yes.
Exactly. If you buy after the fact, then you look really generous and you haven't spent much. So hopefully you went to the supermarkets this week and got all this sort of 90% off Christmas food. And
Yes.
you'll have a really cheap Christmas.
Fantastic. Fabulous. Got your presents.
Darren, listen, literally, oh my God, literally a week ago I was sat here saying, Darren, I've got your present here, and it's still here.
We're going to have to get together, aren't we? Perhaps have a Molly and Darren's Christmas get-together.
Well, not if you've still got a line, even if it's a faint one.
It's very faint. You have to squint.
It's vague, according to Mrs. Darren. Vague. Right, should we get Kevin on?
Yeah, let's get Kevin on.
Right. Kevin Beresford, he's a smashing chap. He is an ambassador for the mundane. And that is, his words. So I spoke to the self-titled dullest man in Britain a couple of days ago, and he has done a new calendar for 2024. And this is Allotments of Redditch.
I've never been into I live in a one-bedroom flat in Ashfield Bank on the 3rd floor, so I haven't even got a garden box. It's just that I like to take slices of English life and turn it into a calendar format. And not many people would think of allotments going into a calendar, and that's what I like. Most of my calendars, whatever you say about them, are unique.
Yeah.
They're always unique. And I thought, I like to look around as I'm walking around the town of Redditch and looking at different aspects. And I passed this allotment, and it was in Ashwoodbank. I thought, what a beautiful allotment this is. And they've all got their little sheds, haven't they? And they're quite resourceful. They're like eco-warriors, really, aren't they, these people?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to ask permission. You can't just walk on allotments now. Because, I mean, tomatoes, they're the class A veg, though, aren't they, tomatoes? So
Yeah.
they get a lot of break-ins. That was a bit, I don't know.
That's sad. That's sad to hear.
So, all of them do. All of them get broken into at least twice a week, and there's all security signs up and
that's really sad. That's like
It's
churches, because you always find churches locked now, and that's for the same reason. So a sad state of affairs, really.
It is really, and these guys, as I say, they're so resourceful. Guys and girls, they have like toilet systems, anything that can hold water, anything porcelain, old bathtubs. So they're like wombles, aren't they? They're like wombles the way they just turn it all these items, and put their plants in them. And another thing I've noticed, it's not just vegetables. There's flowers. Some people just sort of grow flowers and they give away to friends. And there's lots of beehives in allotments. I never knew that, So you've got all different aspects of gardening life. And these guys, I mean, they're warriors, eco-warriors. That's what they are. Not just gardeners, So.
I love it that you seem to now realise, Kev, gardening folk are really nice people, aren't they? Really nice, like community spirited.
Yeah, of course they are. And I thought, God, that's somewhat dull. But I'm a dull man, the dullest man in Britain, so I'm like, God, somebody dull.
I tell you. Well, I saw
dull.
I saw earlier that one paper had said, you're losing your touch as Britain's dullest man, Kev, because actually you've produced something really good. Everyone really likes this calendar.
What can I do?
What's your favourite month? Which was your favourite allotment and why?
You're going to sound biased. It was the Ashwoodbank allotment. Yeah, because it's got a perfect approach to it. It's like a park. There's 3 different exits you can approach the allotments, and each one has its own charm as you walk down a country path or through a park, an entrance to it. The entrance. Yeah. And they just thought, well, how beautiful. And it's got spectacular views at the moment. It was on a clear day.
Perfect. It is a beautiful
So it must be quite relaxing for these gardeners, just to sit in their shed and just look across there. An oasis, isn't it, really? It's an oasis, these places are.
Yeah, then on the back of all this and the week that you spent touring the allotments, getting to know the allotments, seeing the people, realising how good it is, do you reckon, Kev, you might get into gardening? Because we're always here on the Happy Garden Podcast. We're always here every week to help if you need to know where to start.
Really? Yeah. It's timely, mate. I've just come back from Benidorm. And I was taking photos there. Yeah, I was taking photos there for my next calendar.
Oh, what of?
Benidorm scooters.
The scooters of Benidorm.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Some are fast. I've already got the December page. It's just the start of Christmas here. All tinsel over it.
Excellent. Oh, so that's one for next year. What else are you doing next year?
I think I'll persist with the rubbish dumps because it's my second calendar.
Oh, isn't it? Rubbish dumps?
Yeah, can you believe it? I think because people, everyone has to go to the tip eventually, but I bet there's some more than others that love going down to the tip. And I think I'll get that for Uncle Bob, that present, rubbish dumps of England. So I'm definitely going to persist with that. It's another hobby for people, isn't it, going down to the tip?
Well, yeah. It is.
I always get the feeling my calendars are like wind-up gifts for people. That'll show you, But Jack Grealish's car's still the top seller. I've run out of stock. I've got to wait back in January the 2nd before I can fulfil some orders.
Do you bring that out every...
carbs.
Do you bring that out every year?
Yeah, different carbs. They're more, they're less hairy, more well-groomish, more dynamic.
Excellent. How much are your calendars?
£12.50.
£12.50. Where do people get them from? If you've pricked interest in an Allotments of Redditch calendar, how do you get them?
dullkev.com. That's easy, isn't it? dullkev.com.
.com, all one word. What else? Is there anything else to buy on there? Any other merch?
Oh, God, yeah, there's all sorts on there. Yeah, all sorts.
Hang on. Dull.
You got car parks. I've got a good one that hasn't sold at all well, but I really like it. Telephone boxes through the ages, and they've evolved.
Yeah.
They've evolved, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
nobody seems to like that. And that's quite interesting. I thought so. And yeah,
Oh, yeah.
crane spotting, not train spotting, but cranes.
Crane spotting. I've just seen because I've just logged on to dullkev.com. Redditch Recycling Centre 60-piece jigsaw. Oh.
That was a fun. Well, not really. It'd be quite quick to do a 60-piece jigsaw.
It wouldn't take long. Listen, thank you for having a word, because you, like Darren and like half the UK at the moment, a bit lurgified. I hope you're feeling better.
I am indeed, yeah. I do feel better today. I'm glad you just caught me without losing my voice.
Oh.
I completely lost my voice the other day, but it's great to talk, anyhow.
Just to underline, Kev, because we've never had you on the phone in before. Even if you fancy, now you might have caught the horticultural bug, getting some house plants or trying the tomatoes this year, call us, email us, and we can sort you out on that.
I think the house plants might interest me because my cousin Sally's just got me some geraniums and
cool.
I'm not used to. But would you believe when I went on holiday, I came back, I hadn't watered them. They looked better for it. I thought, well, that's a puzzle. I thought they'd be dead by the time I got back. So
because you didn't water them.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've been away and they seem to be better.
What, the geraniums?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't really like much water. Well, you see, this is what you can learn off us, you see.
Yeah, you're right, because I thought, I bet they'd be dead when I get back, but that was better.
Yeah. No, you don't water
I
them
don't think they like me. They don't like me.
We will be in touch in 2024. Kevin Beresford, Happy New Year to you. Much love from the Happy Garden Podcast.
My pleasure.
Kevin Beresford, if you want, as you just heard, if you want to hear more about Kev or find out more about Kev, he's such a nice bloke. It's dullkev.com.
He's not dull.
No, he's not dull.
He's not dull, is he?
Do you know, I once did a whole series on the Dull Men's Club. Yeah. And anybody who has, basically, it's people with interests, whether it be telegraph poles, barbed wire, milk bottles. Honestly, I've spoken to the hugest variety of people all over the world. But if you have an interest, if you have a hobby, you are the luckiest person ever. You're not dull.
Not at all.
Right, let's get on to a question. If you want to get in touch with the Happy Garden Podcast, this is your podcast. We will, I say we, Darren, will answer your gardening questions. No question too big, no question too small. We'll always try and find the answer for you. Oh, bless you, Darren. So, the Happy Garden Podcast, that's okay. The Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com will get you through. The Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com. In fact, there's lots of ways for you to get in touch.
Get interactive with Molly. Lovely show. Professionals. Get interactive with Molly and Darren. Follow them on social media. It's a bit like stalking. Just search for the Happy Garden Podcast on Instagram or Facebook.
So, Gail has been in touch. Molly, Darren, I'm concerned about my money plant. It has little white grains on it. Is this bad for it and will it harm it?
Well, there's nothing at all to worry about this. You could think this is just infested with a fungal disease, couldn't you? But actually, this is calcium from the water you're actually watering your plant with. Yeah, it is, yeah. It's calcium deposits, and they come through the pores in the plant itself. They're called stomata. These are the little pores that open and close and let gases out and liquids and things like that, and gases into the plant when plants transpire and then photosynthesize. And that's what you've got there. You're probably in a hard water area, Gail, I would hazard a guess, and this is calcium that's come from the water. What you should be able to do is just wipe it off or wash it off with some water. It's absolutely going to do no damage to your plant at all. If you don't, it's just calcium deposits from the water that you've actually watered your plant with, and it's as simple as that.
That's great. That's what that is. And also, I think we ought to put a little codicil on every time we mention money plants, Darren, that don't chuck them away. If you're sick of your money plants and you've maybe got one that's 10 years old and you're like, oh, for God's sake, just die. Oh, isn't that awful? I say that. Don't forget, they are worth hundreds and hundreds of pounds. You'd be surprised if you look on eBay, won't you, Darren, how much these things
Definitely.
can fetch.
I was surprised. I've started to collect them.
You think for 2024. But if you've got one over a foot tall, you will be surprised how much money they fetch. So, yeah. Well worth knowing. I do have another question for you. The happygardenpodcast@gmail.com. Lots come in, actually, post-Christmas, Darren. Molly and Darren, loving the podcast, loving the humour. To me, it makes it less scary asking a question. Actually, before I go on, that's lovely. Isn't that lovely to hear?
Yeah, that's great. We're not scary. We're not scary. You've got to have some fun in your life, haven't you? Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Gardening isn't complicated and you can laugh all the way through it.
We've got to make this as approachable for people as possible. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And we always say, don't we, Darren, any question that pops into your mind, even Monty Don will have thought of that, even Alan Titchell. At one point in a gardener's career, life, interest, hobby, we all ask the same questions. There's no question is labelled daft.
No question too small. No question too big, really.
Well.
But we just haven't got the time. Have we?
Well, I don't know. But anyway, let me continue with Caroline's question. So, I'm fairly new to gardening, she says. I dabble, but this year I'd like to be more self-sufficient. I've got lots of questions. In fact, I'm not sure where to start. I know I need to do an awful lot of weeding before I begin, and I'm wanting to build a compost heap. Darren, I've no idea where to start. Is there anything I need to know as regards position of the compost heap, the depth of the heap, the size of the heap? Any advice is welcome. Thank you both, and that is from Caroline.
Oh, Caroline, it's a wonderful question. You don't have to have a massive space to compost. So that's the first thing to realise, because you can buy what's called a bokashi bin, which is like a little box that you put things into, and it'll break down, and you can have compost that way. It just depends on how much compost you want to actually use. Now, there's cold composting, which will take quite a long time to compost down. And then we've got warm composting. And you can have, compost in 6 weeks if you follow a warm composting method. Now, if you want a compost heap in the garden, again, normally we pop them at the end of the garden, but in a sunny position, if you can do, really, you want an area where you can store materials so you can build your compost heap, and an area where you can build your compost heap. And if you've got enough room, have an extra space where you can turn the compost into as well, because it's really important that you keep lots and lots of air in that compost. And really, you want things like your greens, your kitchen waste, those sorts of things, cardboard, newspaper, leaves, those sorts of things, and build in layers. And then, you can pop your grass clippings on there as well. But always try to build in layers if you can do, rather than just lumping one thing in there at a time, because you end up with a big sludgy mess that way if you just lump things in one big block at a time, like grass clippings. They're a great activator, but use them sparingly if you can do, and use them in layers, like I said. Now, to warm things up, pop a tarpaulin over the top, and literally it'll start to cook, and that's what you want. That will kill any pests and diseases that may be in the compost for you, and it will help your compost to cook really, really quickly. And those are just some simple tips, really, to build a compost heap for you. You can make the heap itself out of old pallets if you want to. Try and raise it off the ground a couple of inches so that you get airflow underneath, and that will stop rodents as well from trying to make a happy home. Remember, they'll only be there for food anyway, so you could actually exclude things like kitchen waste if you didn't think you wanted that there, because that might draw some rodents in, rats and mice and things like that. But if you turn it every so often, that will oxygenate it, and you'll have compost in next to no time. But my advice to you would be to get on the internet and have a look at the myriad of composting systems that you can actually use. But well done for thinking about organically producing your own compost that you can bring back to your garden. Thank you, Caroline, for the question.
Yeah.
I hope those hundreds of other questions you're going to share with us on further podcasts.
Yeah, definitely. We're always here, the happygardenpodcast@gmail.com. Dazzler will always endeavour to answer any question you've got. And also, the price of compost, Darren, at the moment, you do well to make your own.
Yeah, we've got to be careful here because we use the term compost for growing media, which means potting compost and things like this. Caroline's talking about making her own garden compost. They're two totally different things.
Oh, explain.
Compost that we buy in bags to pot with is specially prepared. That's why it's so expensive. Whereas our own garden compost is something that we make ourselves. And the difference is we can't guarantee that there's no pest or disease in our garden compost. And we wouldn't necessarily use that to pot with. Although some people do, they make their own garden mixes. But you do take a chance that you'll transfer a disease or a pest or something like that.
Commercial special compost then is what, sterilised?
Yes,
Right.
it'll be sterile and it'll be particularly formulated in a particular way. Although sometimes when you open a bag of compost that you've spent your hard-earned cash on, you wonder where that rule actually applies, because you think, what on earth is this rubbish that I've actually got here? I could make better myself. You can make your own garden compost and use a product called Chempac, and don't get any sponsorship for this at all, folks. But Chempac will tell you what ingredients you need to bring together. Basically, it's the fertiliser that you've got in the bag, and you'll need some gravel and some grit and perhaps some perlite, and then your own garden compost you can actually mix and make your own fresh garden compost and use that for potting and things like that.
Okay. No, it's fine. I'm just writing down Chempac because I might get in touch with them.
Yeah,
this week.
definitely, yeah.
And say.
Some people call it Chempac, so it's CHEMPAK.
Okay, fab.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. Thank you very much, Caroline, by the way. Yeah, always here, the Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com. By the way, Darren, I mean, it's not much money coming in, but you know...
Yes.
Yes, you know, you and I... What did you call it?
Millionaires.
Central... We're millionaires.
We're millionaires now, folks.
We were burning the furniture prior to Christmas. You called it central heating.
Yes. Yeah. Putting the sofa in the middle of the room.
Burning it. We're getting a tiny weeny bit of money. If you do enjoy the Happy Garden Podcast on a weekly basis, Darren and I have joined, I haven't heard of this before, but somebody told me to join it, buymeacoffee.com/the Happy Garden Podcast. So if you do appreciate what Darren and I do, because we don't get any money for this, other than if you want to buy us a coffee, that would be muchly appreciated so we can continue doing this in 2024. I'm just embarrassed to say that though, Darren, but it's just a contribution.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to contribute.
Not desperate of anything.
I know. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Even though it's just a coffee, I do feel a bit desperate asking. But let me say it again. It's buymeacoffee.com/
Mine's a latte.
the Happy Garden Podcast. Oh dear. I'll have a G&T, I think, at this point. Right, let's move on, Darren. Now, we have got Darren's money-saving tips. Next, should we lighten the mood? Do you want to do some jokes?
Yeah.
Floral jokes, you
Now
say?
in the Happy Garden.
It's about time for some Alan Titters. Brace yourself for your gardening jokes of the week from Darren Rudge.
Right then, let's be having you.
Right, Molly, what's the fiercest type of flower in the garden?
Fiercest. Oh, is this something to do with a lion? I don't know.
A dandelion.
Oh, I nearly got it.
You almost
You
got
know,
that.
that was good. I nearly had you on that one. Good. Number one.
Number two, did you hear the story about the flower who went on a date with another flower?
I didn't, you know. What happened?
Apparently it was a budding romance.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Good. Two.
Why did the flower decide to try out Tinder?
Oh, now that's over my head. I've no idea.
He was just looking for some buddy to love.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Three. I like that.
How did the flower get over the fight she had with her sister?
No idea.
She rose above it.
Oh, those are nice. Oh, these are nice.
Yeah, I thought it would be nice to start with some nice ones for
Well, yeah,
the new year.
there's a moral behind all of your jokes. Yeah.
Where do flowers go when they need a recharge after a long day?
Couldn't tell you.
The power plant.
Oh, good.
Right, and finally,
Yeah.
what has no fingers but lots of rings?
Oh, I don't know. The burner phone? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
A tree! No fingers but lots of rings. Tree! Oh, God.
What? Do it again.
What has no fingers
Yeah.
but lots of rings?
Oh, as in
A tree.
age rings.
Yes!
Good. A tree.
Tree!
That's good.
That's it, really.
Oh, is it? That's good.
Oh, terrible.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Not really.
You let yourself down. You let me down. You let the whole school down. No, I like it. Thank you very much, Darren. Dazzler, it's time for adverts that we don't get paid for.
Oh, goody!
I don't know why we laugh. Yay! I don't know why we laugh. Listen, there's, I don't know, about 90 seconds of adverts, but we will see you on the other side. Phil. Oh, are you okay?
Sorry.
Well, you can have a 90-second break. We'll have a couple of adverts, which you, dear pod listener, can forward through. But if you need a break, Darren, a comfort break.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the other
Here's
side.
the adverts.
Here's the adverts. We're back, Dazzler. That wasn't too... Yay! Wasn't too painful.
They were all right, those adverts, weren't they?
It was all right. Not too painful. Right, shall we? We haven't done this for ages because prior to Christmas, you and I were doing Molly and Darren's Christmas crackers. I miss the crackers. So we haven't done your money-saving tips for a while. The crackers, by the way, in the run-up to Christmas, if you haven't listened to the pods before Christmas, it's well worth having a listen back. It's the good thing with podcasting, Darren, because Darren and I have a history in BBC Radio, and it's like toilet paper radio, isn't it? Once you've done it, it's gone. But the nice thing with podcasting is it's like a library. You can always go and listen to our back episodes, and I think we're on 18 now, are we, Darren?
Yeah, this is podcast 18.
18?
What it says at the top of my sheet, anyway.
Is it? The shop of your teeth?
Yes. Shop of my teeth, yes.
Good. Well, listen. Oh dear, Darren, listen. Christmas is still. I don't know what your room looks like, because Darren and I aren't together. By the way, I'm sat in Birmingham. Darren's in the Black Country. For German purposes. Darren, I haven't cleared this office. I mean, I'm looking up. I've got tinsel there. I've got lights there. I've got Christmas trees there. I've got the Christmas cracker hats from the Christmas cracker. I want to tell you what. I'll tell you what else we're going to miss from Molly and Darren's Christmas cracker. The musical interlude that
did you like those?
Oh man, without fail, I used to forget to go and physically get a cracker, which I would pull, and Darren and I would sort of do a bit of theatre of the mind, and we'd pull a cracker together before we did Darren's awful Christmas gift ideas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Get a bowl.
Whack a plant in. Job done.
Ta-da!
Spray tinsel.
So, when I used to go next door to go into the living room to get the basket of crackers, Darren used to sing a carol to you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we've done that for 4 or 5 weeks, so I shall miss that this podcast.
Have we set a precedent?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to say before Darren's money-saving tips, I don't know. Because I think the last one, which was a New Year's Eve flavour, you did Boney M. Was it Mary's Boy Child? I don't know.
I've got no idea.
Last week, I think you did Mary's Boy Child last week. Anyway, are we literally, I'm going to put this to you, are we squashing that, or do you want to do one? Choice is yours.
No, not today.
Not today.
I haven't got anything.
Okay.
I haven't got anything.
Are you dry?
In
Is the
today.
tank dry? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My voice isn't up
That's
to it.
fine. Do you want? Shall we press on with your money? Dodged a bullet there. Do you want to press on with your money saving then?
Yeah.
All right. No offence.
You're going to love this
Live
one.
on the Happy Garden podcast. It's time for
Darren's money saving tips.
Well, yes. We'll be the judge of that, Rudge. We'll be the Rudge judge. Go on then.
Well, now you've got your poinsettia through Christmas. The challenge is to get it to next year. That's the money-saving tip, folks, is how to look after your poinsettia to get it through to flowering for next Christmas so you don't have to buy one. After Christmas, start feeding your poinsettia with a high potash feed. Now, a high potash feed could just be something as simple as your tomato food. So if you've got tomato food, you can feed your poinsettia with high potash or high potassium feed, such as your tomato food. Get it to around about April, folks. Prune your poinsettia back to around about 10 centimetres, 4 inches, and keep it then for the rest of the year at a temperature of around about 13 degrees Celsius. In early May, then repot your poinsettia into a slightly larger pot with fresh peat-free compost. Loam-based compost is good as well, so joining is number 2. And then keep it in a draft-free spot out of direct sunlight, ensuring the temperature doesn't exceed 18 degrees Celsius. Then finally, get them to the end of October and they'll start to develop those wonderful bracts and be in flower for you at Christmas time once again. And that's how to look after your poinsettia.
Lovely. I've got to admit, and you might be ashamed of me, I have got a plastic one this year, only because of the cats, and I know, but they are highly poisonous to cats and dogs, so I did, because I wanted the festive look. All right, Darren. Have you got a real... Don't lie, have you got a real one? Don't lie.
What, poinsettias?
Don't lie. No.
We haven't got one now. No. That's
However,
I think
go on.
a little bit of a waste of money for me.
We're nothing if not honest on the Happy Garden podcast. Well, I worry because I have
Some people love them, don't they?
They do.
Part of the tradition.
Of course.
At
And
Christmas.
they're beautiful. They are hazardous to cats and dogs, of which I have many, so it's difficult in our household. And I did just hear, was that Bear sneezing in the background? Was that
No,
Bear?
it's Molly. Molly's our older dog. Molly's 15.
That's a great
She's
age.
15. We took her to the vets over Christmas, and the vet could not believe she was 15, but she is. She's 15. And actually, he gave us some tablets because we were having problems with her getting up and down because of her arthritis. And these tablets had just made her a new dog.
Really?
Totally and utterly.
What are they?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Just anti-inflammatories.
Are
That's
they?
all. In 2 days, changed dog.
You're joking?
Literally.
In 48 hours?
Yeah. Yeah.
Veterinary drugs are amazing. My 2 19-year-old arthritic cats, one of them has a drug called Silencia. I'm not a vet, I'm not advocating this, I'm just saying it works for ours. And literally as soon as she had that injection, which she has once a month, incredible. Oh, I tell you what I was talking about this morning, Darren. We are completely digressing here. This has nothing to do with poinsettias whatsoever. Have you ever tried a magnetic collar on any of your animals?
No, not at all, no.
Do you know I've found phenomenal results. Meg, one of our dogs who has arthritis, my goodness, she's been at the vet so many times for her limps over the years. Second I put a magnetic collar on, well, she hasn't limped since.
All right. I'll have to try one. Try one with Molly. But yeah.
It's worth it, I tell you. They're 20, 30 quid. They're not cheap. But the good thing is with trying them on animals, it obviously cannot be a placebo. They don't know they've got it on. And, worth trying.
It's a good tip. Thanks, Molly.
How did we get from poinsettias?
No idea.
We're nothing if not diverse on that.
You asked which dog sneezed.
Oh, yes. Well, I wasn't sure if it was Mrs. Rudge. Is she still in? Well, I don't know what's going on your end, do I?
She's upstairs.
Is she? Have you sent her up?
Yeah. Thought to get out of the way. I'll lock her in the basement
No,
normally.
Darren.
She's in the background then.
Was that her?
Yes.
Do you know, that will make me laugh all year, you with your, I've got her a set of saucepans.
She loves them.
What are you eating today?
Dunno, I haven't seen the menu
Have you
yet.
not seen the menu yet? Okay.
It's not being produced.
Well, do you know, I'm so lucky my end. Mr. Green, and he did it yesterday because generally food is better the day after, especially if you're cooking from scratch. He has done, and it's all vegan, but it's spaghetti meatballs. It's like a meatball sauce. I know.
It's your house.
I thought of you, though, because we went to, I think it was Tesco's, on New Year's Eve. And because they're not open on New Year's Day, they wanted all the fresh food out of the way. Everything was 10 or 20p. So these, I think they were wicked meatballs or something. They're £4, 12p. Hello.
Wow.
Having a Chep dinner tonight.
It's not Mrs. Rudge. That's a bear.
Oh, was that? I wonder if other garden...
What do you want? What? Say hello, Molly.
Oh.
Say hello, Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hello, Molly.
Oh, it's 2 Mollys.
It's Bear.
Oh, that's Bear, sorry.
Yeah, that's a bear.
What does Bear need?
I don't know. Did you not hear him? He says, I don't know.
Well, normally when Bear goes, it's the scrap man.
Yes,
Or the ice cream van. Have you got any vans outside?
No, not at the moment. And in the street, you know, he howls at ambulances and police vehicles and things like that. So it's quite funny because if a police vehicle comes screaming past, you know, he's like this howling banshee. He just sits there.
Well, that's good alert system, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, does he need a WAS?
I think he wants to go out.
Do you want to go and
I better go and let him out.
go on? Because I need a wee as well. I feel for him. You go and do him. I'll do me, and I'll see. I'll see you. There's no one to sing, but be a little bit of dead
No, there
air.
isn't actually.
No, we'll see you in a minute.
Goldfinger.
Oh, does she sing when you sing? Oh, go on, do Goldfinger again. That was funny.
Goldfinger. No, he's not
No,
gonna do it.
guys,
He's
just
not
needs a
gonna
wee.
play.
Go on
He
then.
wants a
We'll
wee.
all have a toilet break. I'll see you in a minute.
See you in a minute.
All right, see you in a minute. God.
What's the
Nothing is
matter
not
there?
honest.
What do you want? You want to go out? Is that what you want?
His heart is cold. That Goldfinger.
Are you back? He's not back yet, look. He's back. Love changes everything.
Are you singing? Did you get back before me? Did you get back before me and start
Yeah.
doing Michael Ball? Did you? I was just thinking on the loo there that very, very quickly. I was just thinking that I bet podcasts who talk about I don't know, windsurfing or the UK charts. I bet they don't have to have a toilet break.
We're nothing but honest, are we?
Me. Oh, Darren, how did we get this old?
I don't know.
Anyway, is the dog okay?
He's okay. He's outside now.
Oh,
pouring down
God,
with
I was going to
rain.
say, don't leave him out in this. There's a weather warning. Go and get him back in.
I can't get him back in then.
Go on then. Oh, crumbs. Go on. I'll see. Now that means I've got to sing. What shall I sing? You can hear the rain against the window.
Come on.
Can you hear the rain?
Come on. There.
He sounds like an abusive dog owner, doesn't he? But he's not. He's not.
Come on.
Oh, that's a good boy.
That's a good boy. It's a bit wet out there, isn't it?
You back?
Back.
Darren, we can hear the rain pelting on your window.
Yeah. It's horrible.
You're further west than me. It must be on the way here. Wow, that sounded biblical.
It is. It's quite horrible.
Yeah, gosh. Oh, it is vile, isn't it? As we did say a little bit earlier on, obviously it depends when you're listening to the Happy Garden podcast, but we are due some frosty weather, which will be lovely because we'll have, frosty nights, which will freeze this blooming mud, but that does mean clear nights, which will obviously mean clear days and a bit of blue sky, which I think we could all do with, couldn't we, after this mud and greyness?
Well, it is winter.
True, but I do like the cold, crisp, frosty blue sky days, the chocolate box pretty days. Good for your mental health, I think, and good for gardening because the mud at the moment, I mean, Darren, I know you're a gardener, but even you must think, on days like today.
I do.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. Which is why you're in with your slippers on. We could hear you coming back, in your moccasins. There was something.
I love moccasins.
There was there was something in the
Something
paper.
evocative about them.
There is evocative about a moccasin. There was something in the papers today because I was at work this morning earlier on, so I've had a look at all the papers. There was some sort of survey from somewhere saying that it was something like 75% of us now live in pyjamas. They didn't interview me, but I can definitely concur. The second I get in, I stick my gym jams and moccasins on. Do you?
Yeah, well, I haven't quite got gym jams. I've got these lounge pants.
Are you in your?
No, I'm not at the moment,
Oh.
actually. But actually, this year, I with my birthday money, because it was my birthday as well.
Did you get birthday money in a little brown
treated-
envelope?
Oh, I did, yeah. Got it, yeah. Treated myself to a proper bathrobe. I love a bathrobe.
What, a dressing gown?
A dressing gown.
Well, you
yeah.
haven't got one before.
Well, sort of.
What, you
sort
just
of
used Mrs.
had.
Darren's?
Yes.
What?
It didn't quite fit.
Let us know about your new one then. What have you got? What do you pad around in?
It's got like a waffly texture on
Nice.
it, and then it's really velvety.
What colour?
Inside, it's blue.
Oh, nice.
And then it's got like a brown interior, and it's lovely.
Brown interior.
wonderful.
Has
and
it got
warm.
pockets for things?
It's got pockets,
Oh, yeah, you need pockets.
and a belt.
Oh, cool. And how
And a
long
hood.
is it? Is it
And a
knee
hood.
length or long?
Oh, no, it's ankle length.
Oh,
It
nice.
has to be all the way down.
Nice.
It's gorgeous. It's lovely.
Send us a selfie next time you're in it.
I will do. I'll send you a selfie in my new
Yeah, do.
dressing gown.
And then I'll put it on the Facebook page. Buy us a coffee, would you? Look at the lengths we stoop to. If you buy,
Let us know what you would
if
like
you-
us to be pictured in.
Oh no, we're going back to Touch and Go. Do you remember Touch and Go from one of the November podcasts?
Touch and go, yeah.
We're selling ourselves. Try and get some money. How degrading, Darren. How much would you pay to see Darren in his new dressing gown?
We'll have levels.
Alan Titchmarsh would be turning in his grave if he was dead, wouldn't he?
He would, yeah.
This is not what horticulture is generally about. Don't forget, you can see Darren Rudge at the BBC Good Food Show and Gardeners World Live in June.
In my bathrobe.
Right.
I could make it a thing, couldn't I?
What?
You know, like that singer that wears the balaclava. What's his name?
Oh, the big hat, you mean? Jamiroquai?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't wear a balaclava.
No, there's a singer that wears a balaclava.
No, there
isn't there?
isn't.
Yeah, there's Rag and Bone Man.
He doesn't wear a balaclava.
What is it then?
He'd be arrested. Hang on. As you know, I always have my
What is
iPad
it?
by me.
Rag and Bone Man.
Singer with balaclava. Oh, I put baklawa. No, that's an Arabian sweet. Hang on. Balaclava. You mean Gregory Porter? Do you mean
Gregory Porter, that's who I mean. Is he not Rag and Bone Man?
Oh, listen to me. Turns out, no.
That's why I'm a gardener.
That's why you're a gardener. Oh, dear. I am totally lost as to where we are on the Happy Garden podcast. I've lost my place on the sheet. Oh, are we out now? Look, we haven't. Have we done your money saving tips already?
Yeah.
What was that then?
Poinsettias.
Oh yes, now we've done. Hang on, let me scribble that out. Darren, honestly, for goodness sakes, what on earth? This is descending into some sort of horticultural.
He's got a balaclava on though, hasn't he? It's garden related.
Someone bought me a balaclava for Christmas, which I thought was odd, but I didn't question it. Let's get onto something horticulturally serious. Now, I do want to share with you the National Trust, Darren, has done. Very, very interesting, actually. It's the winners and the losers, a weather and wildlife review, a snapshot of 2023. I don't know if you've seen this in the news over the last couple of weeks.
No, go on.
A lot of people have been doing a sort of a look back at 2023 and how sort of things have fared. Now, National Trust, as I say, weather and wildlife, a dry winter, the warmest June on record, a wet and mild autumn plus back-to-back storms have confused wildlife and people alike. Actually, before I continue, Darren, you and I, specifically you, have had lots of questions actually on the latter end of 2023 about unseasonal changes happening, whether it be things, bulbs appearing or buds appearing or flowers that shouldn't be still flowering. For the last few years, you've got these sort of questions, haven't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, climate change is affecting us now, and we just can't change it. I mean, we can do things to try and help with climate change, but there are lots and lots of things that happen to us now that didn't happen 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, if that.
So we just have to take that on board and work with it. It's those sorts of things. Magnolia's starting to flower. Camellias in flower. At Winterbourne Gardens, which is where I teach in Birmingham, basically we've got camellias starting to bud through and push out flowers. You know, normally they wouldn't be in flower until spring, March, April time, but there they are. It's because of the temperature changes and temperature fluctuations and climatic conditions that we're actually going through now because of climate change.
Well, I left the house this morning at, I was very, very lucky enough to be covering the breakfast show at BBC WM today. And so I left at perhaps 4 a.m. and it was 10 degrees, Darren, 10 degrees, which is phenomenal. And I must say as well, We had an Indian the other night, and I was doing the little salad bowl. And do you know, Darren, and firstly, you'll kill me because I haven't cleared away the tomatoes from last year. But secondly, you might be proud in the fact that I went to the greenhouse and picked tomatoes in January for tea. Yes, I should have got rid of my tomato plants, but some of them were still in the green and they are now in the red. So come January, and also below the plants from last year, which do still have fruits on, are the new ones already coming through. My husband's already sowed some seeds, so we do have tiny sort of coleoptiles and 2-inch little tomato plants for next year coming, but I'm still picking tomatoes from last year. That's crazy. As you said, 30 years ago, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we used to talk about extending the season, and that means at the start of the season, but also at the end of the season, using things like cloches and things like that, or heating and stuff like that. But we don't have to do that anymore. No, because you can still have your tomatoes in December, and you can grow those at home, not a problem. And you quite often get what sort of crops can we grow in the winter? Well, you can grow whatever you like, folks, because we now have the temperatures that enable us to actually do that. We don't have these closed seasons anymore, or seasons that that sort of come and go. It is very, very blurred, and 10 degrees in December into January is very, very warm.
It's crazy, isn't it? I wonder if there will become a point, Darren, maybe not in our lifetimes, but I don't know. Maybe it will be, where they will have to sort of reclassify a season, because what we know as seasons, as you say, blurred is a very, very good word. It's not defined anymore. And I do know that 2023 anticipated to be the warmest year on record. Pod people, when you're listening to this, maybe you will have had that confirmed. But 2024 already forecast to be even warmer. And the National Trust are sounding the alarm for UK wildlife. And we know from all the questions and comments that you send in to the Happy Garden podcast, an awful lot of you do care about wildlife. It's one of our passions. So the review shows the loss of predictable weather patterns and traditional season shifts, which are causing chaos for nature. But we will start, Darren, with some positive news. 2023 has been brilliant for choughs. And after a record year for Cornish choughs in 2022, numbers of the small black-beaked coastal birds have increased another 60% for 2023. So there are, well, I say good news, but there's 39 breeding pairs, raising approximately 112 chicks. They've been spotted across the land that the National Trust care on in 2023. Oh, do you know what, Darren? Even saying that, great news, but then 39 breeding pairs. That's a pretty shocking. The fact that we're even talking in dozens is pretty sobering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beavers have done really, really well. But sadly, again, as I read this paragraph from the National Trust, we're not even in double figures. They're saying that beaver families, and specifically across the Holnicote estate, which is where the National Trust are monitoring them in Somerset, there's a fourth sibling joined the family at the paddocks. Also, 2 kits born at the second beaver enclosure at Whitemans. The beaver helps us maintain high water levels that keep the woodland lush and able to support a richer ecosystem. And we know they've only just been reintroduced. But to be talking in single figures, let's hope, Dazzler, in the next year or two, numbers are really bumped up.
Yeah. And, just keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And let's hope that we can still progress with these species that are, let's be honest, endangered.
Yeah. Sadly, the list is growing. And just a couple more of wildlife winners in 2023. Fungi, and you and I did a whole show, didn't we, on, who was it who joined us? Fergus the forager.
Yeah. Fergus the forager.
Yeah. Amazing what you can do with a mushroom. Are you okay, by the way?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I haven't checked in on you.
I'm bearing up.
Are you? I've just realised I haven't checked in on you for a good 30 minutes.
Yeah. I just thought you didn't care.
I do care. As long as you're okay.
I'm fine.
The black oil beetle and also natterjack toads have done well this year.
Love natterjack.
Natterjack. Because that reminds us all of Thomas Schaffenegger.
That's it. Thomas Schaffenegger, yes.
I'd like to have married Thomas Schaffenegger. Wouldn't it be ace to be called Schaffenegger?
Mrs. Schaffner.
I don't know why that's so funny, but it is.
Especially if you call Shirley.
Shirley Schaffenegger. Ridiculous. Anyway.
He's had it all his life.
Oh, that was like the worm man, Dr. Kevin Butt. So many memories from 2023. Have a listen to our...
We should have done a roundup for our New Year podcast.
My husband said that. Why didn't you do a best of? Because our library, oh my God, did we laugh. If you want to go back and listen to our library, that's the good thing about podcasts. It is like a library. You can go back and listen to any episode.
Oh, we've had some laughs,
haven't we? Yeah. At Kevin Butt's expense.
I was going to say it's other people's expense.
He was the leading worm expert. I loved him. We'll have to have him on again this year. Anyway, so we've done beavers, natterjack toads, fungi,
beavers and butts,
and chuffs. You couldn't have planned it, could you?
Beavers, butts, and chuffs. Up his Shaffanacker.
Oh, anyway, so that's some of the winners. But on a serious note, some of the wildlife losers in 2023, and again, this is according to the National Trust, seabirds. Now, in all seriousness, and I know this because, oh my God, Darren, last year, you know I keep fowl, geese and chickens.
Yeah.
They had to be locked in for longer than ever this year because of bird flu, which returned with a vengeance in 2023. Bird flu returned to the Farne Isles this year, providing fatal for a range of seabirds. Quick action was taken to collect dead birds to try and stop the spread. Seabirds haven't fared well last year. And Moses and liverworts as well. Apparently the consequences of last year's drought showed in the health of many Moses and liverworts in the temperature, or should I say the temperate rainforests of Lydiate Gorge, which is on the edge of Dartmouth in Devon, which, again, the National Trust do sort of monitor. And red deer as well, Darren, they're on the list, red deer. So those are the three losers that the National Trust have highlighted in 2023.
Climate change. What can we do? We
can try and do our bit, can't we?
We do our bit, and that's all we need to do.
Yeah.
Change the ways, and we are. I mean, there's some wonderful, novel and innovative ideas out there to garden better for wildlife and for biodiversity. You might think, well, what can I do in my little patch that will affect everywhere else? But you can do an awful, awful lot if you think about it. Just have a little wild area, a little bit of water, let the hedgehogs come in, all those sorts of things. And you're doing a massive grand turn for wildlife and for your own garden.
It's like Tesco's catchphrase, isn't it? Every little helps. If we all said, I can't make a difference won't be made. If we all say, I can make a difference, that cumulatively will be absolutely amazing. So, yeah, definitely something to take into 2024. Shall we? We're near the end, sort of, Darren. Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of. Shall we do another question?
Yes.
So the happygardenpodcast@gmail.com. Darren is always on hand for anything that you need sorting, answering, any question at all. It's the happygardenpodcast@gmail.com. Molly, Darren, I've got a question on sowing seeds. I'd like to get ahead this year with my tomatoes and my cucumbers as they seem to fruit so late last year. I don't have a greenhouse, so I wondered if I could sow indoors this month, or is that too early? Oh, this is interesting. I heard Molly talking about compost flies in the house and wanted to ask if this might be a problem for me growing indoors. And that is from Mark in Manchester. And he says, P.S. I found you through my cousin who lives in Bourneville. So welcome to the family, Mark.
Yeah, welcome, Mark. And it's a great question. And yes, of course you can grow indoors if you've got a sunny windowsill. Really, you want to leave it until sort of mid-February if you can do, because the problem of sowing too early is you've obviously got a mature plant to deal with too early. This is why we try to time it if we can do. Now, if you're going to grow tomatoes inside anyway, then really mid-February is about the time to actually sow your tomatoes and cucumbers. But remember, the problem with growing tomatoes and cucumbers is they need two different environmental conditions. So this is where people make the mistake. If they've got their own glasshouse, they put tomatoes and cucumbers in the same glasshouse because cucumbers like it to be quite humid, whereas tomatoes don't. So in other words, they're like water in the air. And that's quite often why your cucumbers will collapse, folks, because it's not humid enough. So that answers that question for everybody. Well, why do my cucumbers collapse?
They annoy me,
humid
Darren.
enough.
Yeah, they just faint. They faint like a fainty thing.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're going to grow them outdoors, Mark, your tomatoes, a fainty thing.
I couldn't think of the horticultural technical term.
But they do because it's not humid enough.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to deal with your tomatoes that don't like particularly water in the air, but your cucumbers do. So just think about that. Think on that one. If you're growing your tomatoes outdoors, Mark, then you do need to leave them till late, or at least May time, April, May time, before you actually sow them, so that then you've got a plant that you can actually plant outside rather than in a glass house. So it depends on what you want to do with them. You'll get an earlier crop if you're going to sow for indoors, because obviously they'll fruit earlier. You'll get a longer term crop for outdoor tomatoes, so bush and espalier, those sort of things outside. But just have a think, is it for indoor use that you want them? You can leave them inside if you want them. You can grow tomatoes indoors on a sunny windowsill, particularly if you choose a dwarfing cultivar. You can leave them on the windowsill and just pick them off the windowsill. There's no problem with you doing that. With regards to compost flies, there's a potential, isn't there? If there's compost there, you might have compost flies that come and invade your kitchen or wherever you got them. But certainly you don't need a glasshouse to grow them. But think about how you're going to actually grow them to a fruiting stage. And if that's indoors, if you've got a nice sunny windowsill, choose a dwarfing crop and keep them inside. I know a gentleman that grows all of his vegetables in a flat. He's not even got a balcony. No, he grows everything inside. He has carrots, lettuce, potatoes in bags and tomatoes on his windowsill. Wonderful. Just think outside the box. That's all you need to do. Get away from traditional systems. There you go.
Absolutely. Hopefully you know we're an approachable podcast by now. Hopefully you realise that, we will help anyone and everybody. The Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com is where you get in touch. Or the Facebook, of course, we're on the Happy Garden Podcast at Facebook, and you can get in touch and we'll get Dazzler to answer the question we podcast and we upload every single week.
You're listening to The Happy Garden with Molly Green and Darren Roach.
What a load of old manure. Darren, I've got 2 more emails, jobs for the week ahead, and then we can let you go.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, that's a shame.
Why? Why are you enjoying this? Well,
all right.
I suppose actually you being COVIDified, you and Mrs. Darren and everybody have been kind of quarantined for the last week or so. So I guess it's quite nice, is it, speaking to us all on the pod?
Yeah, it's got quite boring.
What, the pod or being quarantified?
Being quarantified.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, if you're only a faint line today, then hopefully tomorrow and the next day.
No line tomorrow.
When will you have your big family Christmas then? As soon as there's no line?
Yeah, as soon as there's no COVID, we will get together. I would gather.
Are your decks still up?
Yeah, we've still got decorations up.
Well, of course, you're going to have to keep them up until the line's gone and you can have your Christmas and then...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
There'll be a lot of people in your position, I'd imagine, this year who have had to sort of postpone 12th night and because of an awful lot of people are ill, not just for COVID, but, oh my goodness, I don't know whether I'm making this up, but it does seem to be worse this year for coughs, colds, sneezes, as well as COVID. Everyone seems to be ill at the moment.
Well, I do know 2 other people that are in my position, that have had to sort of cancel Christmas, if you like.
Yeah. But the good news is...
a lot of it about.
The good news is, as I said, if you go to the supermarkets now, they are just getting rid of Christmas at ka-ching, quite a price.
You're going to get a great Christmas present this year.
Great deal. Right, let's get on to the last couple of emails that we had at the Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com. Firstly, this is just a bit of advice, which is just lovely. A lovely lady called Geraldine. Hi, Geraldine. Sent an email with an attachment on how to eat your Christmas tree. I think you and I have probably done interviews in years gone by on how to eat your Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And this is just amazing. I can't remember the lady. There's a specific lady who does do the rounds on this, how to eat your Christmas tree. I'm fairly certain she's even got a book out on it. But Geraldine has sent us a few sort of pointers about the fact that you can use your needles as you would any herb, whether it be rosemary or bay. You can crush them for flavour. You can, Darren, I know you've done this in Darren's larder before. You can use them as any sort of herb if you want to roast some fish on a platter of pine needles, if you want to char them and then use them for tea. There's a multitude of ways. And I think I'm right in saying they're full of vitamin C as well, pine needles.
Yeah, and we look at ancient civilizations that didn't really know they were a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Ancient civilizations from the past have used trees for all sorts of things. You can make a pine stew, and you do have to be careful because of the resins. So you have to stew in a particular way so that the resin is extracted, because that's poisonous. But actually, American Indians make a really lovely pine stew. And blue spruce ice cream takes the needles themselves, you crush them, and you work them into a powder to almost a dust, and then you can make a wonderful, wonderful ice cream from blue spruce. And pine tea, as you just mentioned, is literally put some pine needles in a cup, pour in boiling water, effectively let it steep for a few minutes, and you've got a cup full of vitamin C, which helps you with COVID, by the way.
Wish you'd known that 3 weeks ago. And also, the thing that Geraldine has sent me, roast your potatoes on a bed of fresh pine, add pine to your bread, barbecue with pine. Possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and these are not new things, are they, Molly?
No.
These have come down to us from, as I said, the generations.
Yeah.
It's just that we're a bit frightened almost to try these things.
Nesh.
Yeah, because it hasn't come off a supermarket shelf.
Because it's not pre-packaged, just so right.
And there isn't a sell-by date on it.
Yeah, smell by
Yeah,
date.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Geraldine, thank you ever so much for pointing us in that direction. Appreciate your email. And the final one, Darren, and this is, who's this from? Anne. Lovely Anne in Moseley. Molly, Darren, may 2024 make all your dreams come true. Oh, wasn't that lovely?
Oh, thank you.
I've acquired a delightful cat late last summer. Have I sent you this picture, by the way, Darren?
You have, yeah.
I have, good.
This is wonderful.
I planted some rather skinny, fragile leeks in one of my metre square raised veg beds. When I eventually let her play in the garden, she decided that this would be her toilet. Oh gosh, we've heard this. We've heard this many a time over the years. Darren, can I plant runner beans straight into it next May or June, or should I be extracting the poo first?
And this is a lovely question, isn't it?
Edifying.
I would just dig it over and plant. Simple as. I can't see how you can extract the poo first. And anyway, that poo, potentially, it's not going to harbour anything, I wouldn't think. So I would just dig it through, turn it over, and then just plant your beans. And I think you'll be totally and utterly fine with that.
Do you know, Darren, I was actually lying in bed last night contemplating Anne's question. I actually was, because this came in yesterday. And I did say to myself, I must ask you, is any dung good? Are there any feces of any animals that you would say do not put on veg beds?
Well, generally, what you would say, Molly, is that most poo is good. Right. It just depends on what it's made up of. So that's the thing to consider. So, in the past, I've basically told people to use wombat poo, which is square, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, square. But their stomach is so good at sort of packing in nutrients. It's absolutely rammed full of nutrients. So any poo is really good. Some is really strong. So chicken poo, as you all know about, really needs to be mixed with something, such as straw or sawdust, and then left for a little while, just to steep a little while. Then you can use it, no problem at all. And horse manure and things like that, again, wonderful stuff, but you need to let it sit for a little while. So the thing that I would say is any poo is potentially good, just let it sit for a little while. Obviously, human waste is a little bit on the dodgy side, and any sort of animal that can transfer disease to humans, again, things like pigs, things like that. When they were doing tests and trials on alternatives for peat substitutes, they went through a whole raft of things. Just be careful if you've got transferable diseases from things like pigs, because you can jump to humans. That's the time to sort of ring a warning bell, really, for me. And human waste, yeah, you can use it, and we do use composting toilets, don't we? And, you can spread that, but you've just got to be careful, haven't you? But, anything is not off the board, let's put it like that. That's what I would say. And certainly elephant dung. It's good stuff if you can get your hands on it.
Oh,
Brilliant stuff.
Can you buy that from a zoo?
Yeah, you can buy elephant dung, you can buy lion poo, although lion poo has been restricted now. But, we used to recommend that for keeping cats off your garden, hadn't we? And there are restrictions on actually buying from zoos now because of disease. But get yourself out there, try it. My friend the Compost King has all sorts of poo. Mick Pountney, have a look at his website. He's got all sorts going on.
We must get him on, Darren.
Yeah, Rabbit. Well, he'll definitely come on and chat to us. I'll give you his phone number.
Yeah,
he's a wonderful guy. Totally and utterly black country. Okay.
Great.
And I will say this on the podcast, but I'd never get away with it on the BBC. His strapline is the only man to really talk shit. Because that's what he does.
Oh, dear. Well, firstly, I must say, Anne, well done. 'Cause I don't know if this is a feral cat that you took on, but for you for taking on a cat that needed a home. And secondly, Darren, I must put a little codicil in here that we do use chicken dung an awful lot across our house because, as you know, we have an awful lot of chickens. But on the front bed, I know that my husband put a couple of wheelbarrows of fresh chicken dung from the poopits, as we call them, on the front bed. And this year, I have to say, on a negative aspect, the bed was full of nettles. I mean, there was more nettles than plants this year, and it was upsetting. And as you say, you do need to sort of let the dung rest.
Yeah, it's a really important part of this, really. And again, when you're mixing materials in, you can mix in weed seeds and things like that. So it's got to be as clean as possible if you can do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to transfer the problem.
Really interesting question, though, Anne. Thank you ever so much for getting in touch. The Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com. Dazzler, I think we're nearly done. You've held up. You've held up, Darren. Your throat's held up.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Just got there. Even had a little pinch of Michael Ball halfway through the podcast.
I haven't heard that yet because, as always, I'll hear that in post-production.
There's a bit of Shirley Bassey in there as well.
Oh, my God, you did too.
I did too, yeah.
Okay, I look forward to that. Well, listen, we've only got some jobs for the week ahead, and then I'll let you go ski.
Okay.
All right, then, jobs for the week ahead. Now, I think today, when Darren and I are podcasting, is hopefully the last of the filthy weather. We've got weather warnings out for wind and for rain, but I think we've got some cold, crisp and beautiful days to come, so...
Now in the Happy Garden.
Oh, I say, sweetie, this is my favourite bit. Time for Darren to be absolutely flabulous and regale us with his gardening jobs for the week ahead.
Well, yes. Few lungfuls of cold, crisp air. What should we be getting on with our Dazzler?
So outdoors then, herbaceous perennials, these are the plants that give us our fireworks in the garden, can be lifted, they can be divided and then replanted. Remember, disregard the centre, put that on your compost heap because that's the old section that you don't really want. And then all the outside bits are the younger shoots, plant them up. If you haven't got room for them, give them away to your friends and your neighbours and your relatives. Check on stored dahlias and gladioli, that they haven't dried out or have been attacked by green flies or even slugs. Remember, above 5 degrees Celsius, folks, slugs are on the active, so they might be nibbling on your dahlias and your gladioli. Your lawns can still be mowed, folks, so get out there as long as it's not too soggy or wet. Give them a good mow, and this will give them a good tidy up for March. Remember, you can still aerate, you can still scarify and edge up those beds. If the ground is not too wet as well, don't forget you can plant all your fruit trees and bushes and give them a little bit of a prune. And if you're not already done so, prune those roses, folks, you naughty people.
Do you know, how did I know you'd tell us off at some point?
Well, you are naughty people.
Why?
We tell you earlier on in podcasts when to do things, and some people just don't.
No. I'm sure there's
naughty
I'm sure there's some bulbs in a brown paper bag somewhere lying around.
I'm sure there is.
I'm sure. But hang on.
Had a thoroughly lovely time listening to that, sweetie darling. I know that I'll be having a crack at some of those jobs this week. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next week for more absolutely rudgelicious gardening jobs for the week ahead.
You're listening to the Happy Garden Podcast with Molly Green and Darren Rudge.
Is that it?
Yes.
Can I go home now?
I interrupted Joanna numbly there. Yeah.
It's good that she did that for us.
A lovely lady. We did meet her down at Chelsea, didn't we? A fair few years back.
Yeah.
Do you think
She did all that for us.
Do you think we'll be going to Chelsea this year?
Of course.
Do you think?
Of course.
Yeah.
We'll get in somehow.
We'll get in. You crouch down, I'll get on your shoulders. Chelsea is fascinating, and Darren and I do go every year, and we do always get kicked out, don't we? Ordinarily, of course, sadly, it used to be because the Queen would arrive at 3 o'clock. But now, of course, I wonder if the King will carry on that tradition and turn up at Chelsea at 3 p.m. to peruse the gardens.
I would think so.
I hope so. And, of course, 2024, we're really excited, aren't we, Darren, about the year ahead? Because we started this podcast in the autumn, the winter of 2023, but exciting times ahead for 2024. You, of course, are Rudge the Judge at several gardening shows UK-wide.
Yes.
So we'll bring you some really exciting things in the year ahead.
Yeah, so don't forget, you can hear my interview with Bob Sweet and Lucy Tremlett from BBC Gardeners World Live. Fully encourage people to go back to podcast 17 and have a listen to how to enter into beautiful borders, which is a wonderful way to get into garden design, and just show us what you can get out there and do. Don't be frightened, worried. Get a group of you together and let us know, folks. And we'll come and interview you, won't we, Molly?
Yeah.
For the podcast on the site in front of your very own border. How about that?
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Absolutely.
Fabulous and so much fun. And it's something that you'll never, ever forget doing, folks.
And of course, on the flip side of that, anything that you do at home, you are more than welcome to showcase it here at the Happy Garden Podcast. The Happy Garden Podcast at gmail.com. Any little wins that you've had over 2023, anything that you plan to do for 2024, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, get in touch.
Yeah, definitely get in touch. Darren, you have done spectacularly, seeing as you're still registering positive for COVID. This is the second podcast you've done in a week. So literally a million thank yous from me and everybody listening to the podcast. You've delivered above and beyond. Darren,
it's been fun.
Has it?
It's been fun.
Are you
really
okay?
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Are you?
I'm fine. Yeah. It's been fun. It's been real fun.
Sure.
And I love doing this sort of stuff. You know that.
Okay. Or even though you're COVIDified.
Even though.
Listen, next week on the podcast, we have the return of the triumphant Amaze and Astound with Andy Lound. He's done us a whole series. Yay! Whole series on sort of horticultural histories. So he will return next year on the podcast, or next week for 2024 on the podcast.
Fab.
Dazzler, have a lovely afternoon. Are your battens hatched and you're in and cosy, leisure pants on, bit of food.
Fire on.
Good.
Going to have some soup now and then.
Soup's good.
Have a sleep.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you look after Mrs.
I will do.
Rudge as well, because she's
going to use her pots and pans today.
God, that'll make me laugh. That's awful. That'll make me laugh all year. Set of saucepans.
I've got a set of saucepans.
Happy New Year, Darren. We'll see you next week.
Happy New Year, folks. Happy gardening and bye!
Massive twit.
You've been listening to the Happy Garden Podcast with Molly Green and Darren Rudge. If you'd like to send them an email, get in touch with the Happy Garden Podcast by emailing thehappygardenpodcast@gmail.com. Follow them on social media. Just search for the Happy Garden Podcast. Can we say Happy Garden Podcast just one more time? The Happy Garden Podcast.